Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in this video, I am doing a movie review, one of my Blu-rays I own. And this is A Mighty Wind. There you see the cast on the front. I love how they have the cast, how they have it choreographed there. You see kind of a lot of the main actors in the movie. Tagline is "Back Together for the First Time Again." Pretty good tagline. Yeah, this came out in 2003. This was right after Best in Show, which was the last movie review I did. This is their follow-up. Again, directed by Christopher Guest, written by Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy. Stars a lot of the same actors from Best in Show. Christopher Guest, Eugene Levy, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer come in. Or Harry Shearer wasn't in the last one, but he comes in this one. Catherine O'Hara, John Riggins, Parker Posey, Jane Lynch, some of the main, and a lot of the supporting actors are a lot of the same. This one got one Oscar nomination for original song for "Kiss at the End of the Rainbow," sung by Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara's characters Mitch and Mickey. It is a really great song. It's my favorite song in the movie, and I think probably could have won Best Song, except it was going against "Into the West" by Annie Lennox for the movie Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and that song is like one of the greatest songs of all time. Nothing could beat that song for Best Song. But any other year, I think this could have won an Oscar. It's a really, really nice song, really sweet love song, duo, and I love duos, songs and duo groups like Simon and Garfunkel. Anyway, so they work really well together. Synopsis of this movie: again, it's in the mockumentary style. It's kind of like a documentary, except it's not real. It's characters, and a lot of it's improvised, and so forth. But it's the story behind it is this famous folk like creator, producer, founder. I think Steinblum. He dies, and he was like instrumental in the folk movement of the '60s in this movie. And so his kids want to do like a memorial concert for him to honor his contributions. And so they call in some '60s folk groups to come play at the concert. And so we see the different folk groups kind of get together and prepare for this concert at the end. And then you see him perform at the end this concert. And we get three folk groups in here. We have the Folksmen, which is Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer, and Michael McKean as this trio folk group, which is nice because those three were also in This Is Spinal Tap, so it's kind of funny to see them come back together, form another group, this folk group, the Folksmen. Excellent group, of course, very funny. Of course, those three are so good together. Great chemistry there. Then you got the New Main Street Singers, which is like this huge, like 11-piece, like folk band, which I think is part of the comedy. And it's like headed by John Riggins. I believe that's his name. I might be Higgins. I think it's Higgins. I said Riggins. Higgins. Jane Lynch and Parker Posey are kind of the three main singers of the group. And there's a lot of background singers and musicians. And then Fred Willard plays their manager. So he's in there doing his Fred Willard stuff, coming up with different, gags and stuff, improvising. Always funny, Fred Willard. And then the third group, or folk group, whatever, is Mitch and Mickey, which is my favorite out of the three, and definitely the heart of the movie, played by, like I said, Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. Paired up again, just like they were paired up in Best in Show. This one, they're this kind of this couple. Back in the '60s, they were couple in love, and they did these love songs, and then they broke up, and the Mitch character kind of goes crazy. He doesn't deal with the breakup very well, and ends up in kind of a mental institute, dealing with his issues of depression and so forth. Anyway, so he definitely goes downhill and goes down a dark path. She quits the business and like marries a guy who sells catheters. Anyway, so I love their story because it's a story of this relationship that ends, and they are trying, and when they're coming together to play for this concert, there's obviously some baggage there in that relationship, and they're trying to be cordial to each other, but there's obviously some, bad feelings in there between the two, and how they're going to try to come together, especially singing these love songs, which were written. Obviously, Mitch wrote them because he was in love with Mickey, and so now he has to sing these songs with Mickey, even though they broke up a long time ago. And so there's a really interesting dynamic between them, a good dramatic dynamic, along with being comedic, and just a real nice sweetness at the end. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. Anyways, so that's the main synopsis of the movie. My backstory to the movie, of course, I said last time, when I discovered Best in Show, when I finally got around to watching it, and I was just so blown away by the comedy and the style and how it edits like a documentary, and everybody gets their pieces in. You go from one group, and then you go to this group, and then you go to this guy here, and even minor characters get their moments. I just love how it's edited and how it really tells a story with a climatic ending. And this one plays the same way. Love the editing. Love how it ends with that concert, and then evens in with a post-concert. Like after the concert, they kind of say what happens to all the characters after the concert. I love how they do that, so you get kind of some closure to everything. Anyways, and so of course, when this movie came out, I wanted to see it because I loved Best in Show so much, and it was the same actors and of course director and writer. So of course I went and saw it in theater. Absolutely loved it. It's definitely one of my favorite comedies, and one of the great music comedies, I guess, that provides good music. And I wouldn't call it musical necessarily, though there's a lot of music in it, from these bands that are getting ready for this concert. And the comedy is still really, really great. Of course, you got these great comedians that just know how to improvise and just how to create these characters that are funny. Anyway, so yeah, so of course I was a huge fan, and it's one of those movies that I love to. Anytime someone's around, I'll say, "Have you ever seen this movie? You have to see it. It's so great." Definitely one of those movies. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it did really well in the box office, or if it's a movie people talk about as much. But if not, it's definitely like an what do you call it? A hidden gem movie that definitely people should check out. So I go to my favorite scene of the movie. Like I said, Mitch and Mickey, definitely my two favorite characters and they have the most. They're really the only ones that really have a dramatic arc, unlike the other characters, and really are kind of the core of the movie, really the heart of the movie. Like I said, really make this movie so great is those two characters and them coming to terms with the breakup. And there wasn't, I guess, closure to that breakup. I think, especially for Mitch. Like I said, he went kind of crazy and went to. I spent time in an asylum. And so what's great is the Kiss at the End of the Rainbow is like their big song, that hit song from the 60s. And of course, it's a song about, being in love, talking about, knight in armor, and like a fairy tale, knight, rescuing a princess. And of course, then, Kiss at the end. So it has this fairy tale writing style to it, kiss at the end of a rainbow. Like you get to the end of the rainbow, and what's your treasure? It's a kiss from a girl that you love. Anyway, so it's a really sweet love song. Love the song so much, and I love that the song combines both voices, Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy. And Eugene Levy or Mitch sings one verse, and then they go to chorus, and then Mickey sings the second verse, and then they come together on the end. So, and what makes the song really a unique song is at the very end, when they get to the end, they say, "At the kiss at the end of the rainbow," and then they actually kiss. And then the end is better than a pot of gold, or something like that. It's the end of the song. So it's such a unique idea to have the two people kiss, as they say, kiss at the end of the rainbow, then they kiss, and it just makes the song even more like sweeter and lovelier as a love song, because the two people singing it are in love, anyways. And so it's this really brilliant idea that the writers came up with. And then in the movie, they talk about how big of a moment that is. It was one of the biggest, I think one of the fake historians of the movie say, that was like one of the biggest moment in 60s, folk music, was that kiss. That kiss was so important. Anyway, so you get that, and then at the end of the movie, they have to sing the song, but of course they're not in love anymore. So there's this question: do they kiss at that point, like they did back in the '60s? the kiss that everybody's waiting for, but it's not genuine anymore because they don't love each other anymore. And in fact, there's some hardships between them. So there's this kind of climatic moment, like, they're gonna have to sing this famous song with theirs, "Kiss at the End of the Rainbow." Everybody's expecting it, but yet it comes with this, obstacle, this choice. If they don't kiss, people will be upset. If they do kiss, though, they don't feel, like that'd be good for them because of their past. So it was an interesting conundrum of the movie. And I love how that's played out. Where I'm spoiling the movie here for you, but they do end up. A moment happens where they kind of remember that love that they have for each other, and that there's some closure to that relationship. That that they're sorry about how it ended. And anyways, and he buys her a rose at the end, and it kind of softens everything for her. And they play the song, and what I love about the movie, was so brilliant about this movie, what makes it one of my favorite, is that moment where when I first watched the movie, and I was like, you're like, oh my gosh, are they gonna kiss? And they're singing the song, and it gets to that point, and they actually kiss in the movie. It's like, oh my gosh, that's such a great moment. I mean, it really warms your heart, that moment where they kiss, and it feels like with that kiss, they bring closure to this relationship that they've, ended badly, 20, 30 years before or whatever. And it's a great moment in the movie. It's definitely the most heartwarming moment in the movie, and I love how it's played because as they're singing the song, all the other characters know the song and they know that this kiss is coming up, and they're all wondering, are they going to kiss? So all the characters also come to the stage, and they're all waiting, and so all everybody else in the movie is waiting in anticipation, just like I am in the audience, waiting in anticipation. Are they going to kiss or not? And so that story point moment is such a great script moment, such great screenwriting. I mean, really makes the movie, elevates that movie to a higher height for me. Just that scene alone, I think, makes it even better, I think, than your usual comedy, having that moment. Anyway, without that moment, it was a good movie. With that moment, it was a great movie, in my opinion. And I love how after the whole concert thing, we kind of get to the Mitch character. Of course, they're not together. Mickey's married to this catheter salesman, which I find kind of interesting, that because in the relationship with Mitch and Mickey, it was kind of, they're both artists. They were playing love songs, singing love songs in front of audiences. They're having this, great, celebrity moment, in the 60s. But Mitch was really kind of I think really the talent behind the group. I think he was really writing the songs and arranging the songs on guitar, and Mickey was singing with them. But Mitch was really like the core of the group, or the really driving the group. I don't think there could be a Mitch and Mickey if it was just Mickey's idea. It was Mitch's idea for the group, for the duo, and it was really his brilliance as a musician and writer that made that group so good. And so it's interesting that she kind of got to experience that because she got together with Mitch, and then when they broke up, she quit, the singing business and, all that fame. And she, has kind of I hate to say, kind of a boring husband. Yeah, they don't have any children, I don't believe, in the movie, but she gets married to him, and he's a catheter salesman, kind of a boring job, and he loves trains. There's this whole thing where he has this whole huge train village in his basement. That's his big hobbies. He loves talking about trains and catheters and stuff. So it's kind of like, to me, like, I mean, not to say that they don't have a good relationship or they're not in love, just that her life went a totally different way from being exciting to kind of more mundane, kind of interesting. Mitch tried to become a musician, but he was just so heartbroken over the breakup, and he has these albums are very depressing. Like one album covers him digging his own grave, and one of the songs is "If I Had a Gun," and so he definitely went a really dark path after he tried to write, but he couldn't because of that breakup. It just totally ruined him as a writer, and he just can only write really sad songs and real depressing songs, and so he couldn't make it. But then at the end of the movie, we see Mitch, and he's actually very positive. Like for really first time in the movie, he seemed optimistic and positive, and that this moment that he had at this concert has actually influenced him inspired him to go back to being to writing songs and stuff. And he feels good about life. And so it's just kind of this wonderful moment to me about the Mitch character, where this character arc of him being kind of this, depressed character to being more happy at the end, because he finally got closure to this relationship that he's probably been harping on for decades and decades. And so actually it was very mentally good for him at the end. And so I really love that about that character, how that arc happened, where it was good that he had they did the concert, he had that kiss with her, they kind of closed that relationship for good, and he got to move on. I guess it's all about moving on from it, and he finally gets to move on at the end, which is great for him. Anyways, and I know I'm talking about this is not a real person, but I'm thinking that happens in real life. Sometimes you just gotta find a time to close something and move on, and it's really hard sometimes to move on. But only can you move on can you have a better life and enjoy your life. Anyway, so I love that about the character and how it shows that can really happen in real life too. Anyways, to say, so definitely my favorite scene, and that ending part is so good. It really makes the movie, in my opinion. Favorite character, and I talked about a lot. I love Eugene Levy and Catherine Hare. I would say those two together are really the best part of the movie. And Eugene Levy, like I said, he just, again, like Best in Show, they just find a way to the clothes that he wears, the way he does his hair. This in this one, I love his sound of his voice, and the cadence of his voice is very different. Oh, it sounds more like this, and he talks kind of slow, like he's like a aging hippie, maybe that did drugs or something. I don't know, but I love the whole cadence and the sound of his voice. It's totally different from other characters that he plays, and really just incredible how he creates his character, and it's very, very funny. And of course, his relationship with Catherine Harris' character is so good, and I love those two together. And of course, and I love their sound is so good. I love that duo, male female harmonizing sound. Anyways, yeah, so they're definitely my favorite characters of this movie. I should also say, of course, The Mighty Wind has a lot of great music in it. That's what makes this movie so good. Not only as a comedy, but that has, and I love folk music, so this movie really like hits me. Like, I love the style of improv comedy, and then I love the folk music that's in it. So it's like the perfect combination for me personally. What's incredible is that the music, I mean, they're writing these songs to act like these are people that existed in the 60s, and they totally sound like they existed in the 60s, these songs. So I don't know how, that seems like that's kind of hard to do, but to write a whole, I mean, they wrote a lot of music for this for this movie. Only some of it comes in the movie, but they have a soundtrack album that has all the songs, and they have songs that aren't in the movie that they wrote, and it appears in the soundtrack, and it's just a really great music. And I just marvel at how they were able to really sound like they came from the 60s folk music. And it's like, if you told me that this wasn't a group, a real group, I would have thought this Mitch and Mickey really existed, the Folksmen really existed, and this was real music that came out in the 60s. And I would say these came out in the 60s, they would be hit songs. I mean, they're that good. So that's amazing songwriting. That is hard to come by, I would think, to say, okay, we're going to make this movie, we're going to portray these fake folk bands, and we're going to write new songs for this movie, and they're going to be great. I mean, that's just incredible. And the fact that the songs were written by the actors themselves. I know Michael McKean and his wife wrote the song "Kiss at the End of the Rainbow," which got an Oscar nomination, which is kind of cool when he's watching them sing the song, and I know he wrote the song. And it's kind of cool that him and his wife wrote the song. It's a nice love song, and got an Oscar nomination for it. I know Eugene Levy and Catherine Hare, I think, wrote some of their songs that they wrote, and like I say, Higgins and Lynch and Posey, I think, maybe wrote some of their stuff. And so I love how they wrote their own stuff, and they sang and played their own instruments, which is incredible that you got these incredible comedic actors who also were good musicians. Of course, we knew Guest, McKean, and Scherer were musicians. They, I think, played their own instruments in This is Spinal Tap. And I've heard that they're all pretty good musicians on their own. I mean, as far as actors go, they really can play. So it's kind of cool to see them able to play their own instruments, sing it. Everything's just so authentic. It really makes the movie so great. And elevates it, the fact that they're doing it all themselves. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. And like I said, yeah, the songs are great. Kiss at the End of the Rainbow. Folksman have this great song at Old Joe's Place, a real kind of fun song. And then New Mainstream Singers have Just That Kind of Day, I think. And Potatoes in the Paddy Wagon is a real fun song. The very end song, A Mighty Wind, is really good. Mitch and Mickey have another song, When I'm Next to You, really great. Another really great love song. I think you see a little bit in the movie. It's on soundtrack. It's really excellent. Also love the song that they do on the soundtrack called Bobby and June. A really great song. It's only on the soundtrack. New Main Street Singers do a song called The Good Book Song, which is a really funny song, which I think you see a little bit maybe in the movie. I can't remember. But on the soundtrack, it's a really funny song. Anyway, so I love the music. Like, the soundtrack itself is excellent. It's one of my favorite. I didn't put it in my top 100 favorite albums because it's a soundtrack, and I didn't put any soundtracks on my album. But like, if it was on my 100 favorite albums, it'd be like way up high. One of my favorite albums to listen to. Anyways, just to say, on a Mighty Wind. So check out not only the movie, but check out the soundtrack. It's really, really excellent. Now, as far as special features on this, again, kind of like the Best in Show, it has the audio commentary with Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy. Doesn't have a lot of special features. The only big ones are there's some extra deleted scenes, kind of them singing some other songs, which I enjoy. The songs like a Good Book Song, I think, is in there, and I think When I'm Next to You is in there. And the other cool thing is, like, at the very end, they play this concert and they're singing, but of course they're editing from the performances to what's going on behind the stage, backstage, and all the drama that's going on there. And so you don't see the full performances in the movie, you just see a little bit of them. They actually have the entire concert in whole with no edits, so you get to see all the performances in all their whole, which is kind of cool. Special feature there because the music's so good. Anyway, so that's as far as special features. I like to do how it holds up. You know, of course, this came out in 2003, so it wasn't that long ago, 18 years ago. I mean, a little bit, almost 20 years ago, but obviously it still holds up. Music's still amazing. Performance is still great. Yeah, it definitely still holds up as a great comedy today, I think, and one of the best comedies of all time, in my opinion. So the rating, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars, so that's a strong recommend for me. I can't recommend enough. Definitely should check out this movie if you've never seen it. Along with Best in Show, I think it's a good doubleheader. Great comedy. Anyways, I put this slightly above Best in Show, I think, because I love the music so much, and because of that one scene at the end is such a great, heartwarming scene that really makes this above some other comedies, in my opinion. But yeah, so that's my review of A Mighty Wind. So feel free to comment on what you think about this movie if you've seen it, how you like it, how you like the music and all that. Love to read comments. Just thank you for watching the video, for liking it. Thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.